Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Let's, as usual, begin with a bit of comfortable standing position. First, letting go of whatever it was happening before. That sense of momentum taking you through your day. For me, the sun hasn't even come up yet. It's still very early. I like to train in the morning. And yet it's still very easy to develop a sense of inertia from yesterday, leading into later today, my plans later today. Everything's carrying me forward in time. And so the practice then becomes to simply be here, to let all of that expectation or ambition or simple scheduling fall away for the moment, because I don't need it. I can be just here right now. For you, if it's later in the day, it may be more difficult instead to let go of whatever you were doing just before. Maybe you were angry at somebody on the highway, or whatever it was that's been moving you forward in your day. And we let it all fall away. We tend to metaphorically carry the world on our shoulders. And physically, we end up doing the same thing. There's this gripping, as though it's prepping us for something difficult. And instead, we let it all go. The neck is soft. You can relax your jaw, tension in your face. Allow that feeling of your head falling upward. Your shoulders releasing down. As your shoulders soften open, feel your elbows sink, your wrists sinking as though heavy. Your hands softening. Releasing the front corner of the shoulder, this connection point here, so that your arm is allowed to open this way without drawing your shoulder blade back. Simultaneously release the back corner of the shoulder, the scapula, and the relationship with the spine. Allow the back to open. The front, the top, the back of the shoulder, even beneath the shoulder, they all open outward, lengthwise, toward the elbows, toward the fingers, falling outward, disinhibiting the shoulders and the arms. Don't hang on. That just causes more problems that you'll have to deal with later. Similarly, softening your chest, letting go of any tendency to lift your chest or depress it down. Continuing to allow the scapula to slide down your back. Your ribs and your belly are soft. Your lower back is released. releasing any tension in your belly and your lower back. Your hips and your glutes. Letting go of your thighs as much as you're able to. Even 1% softening your thighs around your knees will make a difference. Eventually your hips and your legs become surprisingly soft. Softening the space behind your knees as well, and your lower legs, all the way through your feet to your toes. Today, emphasizing this sense of length through the hands to the fingertips. Closing when you're ready. Noticing the softness in your hands, the warmth. And then we'll begin to make gentle circles as usual. We've been at this for about a month now, so you should feel much more comfortable with the movements and with the release of your neck and shoulders as we've explored various ways that the form itself opens throughout the body, getting to know our body more clearly. Of course, if you're watching this and this is your first time joining us, welcome. Please do click down below and head back to the first of the series. Maybe watch the introduction to get a better sense of what we're doing here. Best not to jump into the middle of a 100-day series. It can feel confusing. Both directions. Let the movement be led with your hands, feeling that sense of softness from your hands soak into your abdomen. Sliding around, let's do a little bit of warming up of the back, the hips and the glutes, especially if this area tends to be tight for you, as it is for lots of people. Also let it warm up your hands. If you'd like, if your hands are feeling cold, you can move to the eye of the fist or the backs of the hands. And that same friction will help to warm up your palms, wake up your fingers, restore some circulation. Again, as long as you're not tightening your shoulders. Shaking out your hands a little bit, as though you have water on them. As long as you're not having arthritic pain, of course. Please do not traumatize your joints further. Just be gentle. You can also spin around the center. From the shoulders out to the hands, loosening up. And now let's soften the sides of the neck a bit. Easing open the sides of the neck. lengthening rather than shortening. Now let's do a little bit of left and right, yin and yang. One side sinks through to the ground, one side becomes empty, light, softening through. Remember that we're letting go, this kind of letting go, just soft taffy letting go. A wet noodle falling through. And for the sake of today, since we are exploring the hands and the quality of the movement leading through the hands, have the sense of your hands being extra heavy and releasing. They pull down, lengthening open the arms as though your hands weigh 10 times more than normal. Feel them pulling down. Allow the full weight of the hands to release. And then let's combine all of those into the snake softening its sides like a wave. Leading the movement with your hands. So if I tried leading with my shoulders or my elbows, I would sort of crimp down on them and the hands would never catch up. But instead, if I let the hand and the fingers lead, it pulls open my elbow, my shoulder, lengthens the side of my spine. Smaller and smaller. And again, closing. Always taking your time to settle. Let's do a bit of opening up the hips. If you'd like, you can allow your fingertips to sink into the space in the front here, both directions, helping to remind you to maintain this soft area here rather than tightening and pulling. We let go. That can take some practice. Also, the larger circles. I use my hands now to continually help soften this area that likes to grip. Both directions. And then the upper spine, a little bit of the thoracic spine as well. Starting small, take your time. Releasing all the way around the neck. Feeling your hands hanging, continuing to lengthen, open your shoulders, decompressing around the neck, making it easier to move because you're not hanging onto your arms. Both directions. One more time, and then gazing down between your feet, lengthening open the back of the neck all the way to the base of the skull. And then rolling up, over the top, hands continuing to hang, allowing the shoulders to be disinhibited. Otherwise, the tendency is for the shoulders to creep up and to compress around the base of the neck, making this movement more difficult. Rolling up, and of course, closing. Again, some awareness of the direction of the palms sinking down, settling. Warmth and softness of the hands soaking in through the navel. Allow your awareness to accumulate there, just deep to the navel, almost like you're building up a charge of your awareness there. Feels good. So let's do a bit of shoulder release before we do the softening front to back. It's comfortable circles. Remember to allow your hand to hang. Continually it's hanging. If you start trying to lead the movement with your elbow, for instance, you can see how it pulls up and gets stuck in the neck. Or if I try to lead the movement instead with the shoulder, so the hand is kind of behind, everything gets compressed upward. But instead, if I sink my hand, it pulls open my shoulder. My hand and arm continue to sink as I release around the circle, continually letting go. Both directions. Spending a bit more time in whichever direction and on whichever side needs the extra attention. Palm turning forward, palm turning back because you open around the shoulders, not because you twist your hands. One side then the other. both directions. And then hands sink. Notice if you're starting to tighten and pull upward. Instead, let everything continue to be long, softening long. When things become soft and long, then they have the capacity to become round and lively. Both directions. Alternating. Softened, long, round, lively. Song Chang Yuan Dong. Both directions. Letting go. Shaking out just a little bit, all the way to the fingertips. From the shoulders to the fingertips. A little hard to see in camera, perhaps. And then closing. Remembering that during closing, that as your hands come close to your body, your thumb falls in around the pivot of the ulnar side, the little finger side, pivoting around this way, rather than pushing your hand outward this way, or just indiscriminately twisting. We want to have the sense that the hands are coming in, palm drops inward as the thumb turns toward you, chest sinks, belly sinks, everything softens down this way, rather than out around. Let's do a little bit of softening front and back now. Hands continue to soften, sinking the arm down. Palms turning forward and back as the chest opens and the back opens. Smaller and smaller. And closing. Thumbs turn in, sinking down. Let's do a little bit of neck release before we do black snake. Let's begin by looking over and down, returning, up, over, and down. Continuing to let your arms sink. If they creep up, it begins to trap your neck with your shoulders. So let your hands soften lengthwise, outward, palms turning forward as you open your chest, palms settling again by the sides as you let go. Taking your time. Now let's look down and up behind. Hands continuing to lead. Your fingertips soft. Shaking out a little bit. Let's do a little bit of the tech neck, embracing the mountain neck and shoulder release, lengthening the head up and back, lengthening the elbows out, away from each other and back, vertically, horizontally, vertically, horizontally, continually healing and strengthening those postural adjustments and softening outward. Letting everything fall through to the hands. And then again, leading with the fingertips as the hands come up. If you lead with your shoulders, you'll get stuck. Instead, you go around. Hands on the back of the head, gently using the hands to turn the head side to side. Please don't try to force any cracking or opening. Always very gentle. And again, palms turned forward as you lengthen, softening outward, letting go at the end. Hands resting comfortably as usual by the sides of the legs. As long as your body makes that shape, try not to force it to do anything unnatural. And then, let's go ahead and come up the midline. Palms turned down before they reach the heart. Forward, shoulder blades slide down the back, don't lean back. Palms pressing upward, lengthen your spine. Crown of the head follows the hands up. Then palms turn down, pressing on top of the head. Head continues to release upward. And then again. You can either have your hands separate. You can also link your fingers together, as long as that doesn't strain your hands or your arms. Both are okay, just depending on your body shape. And again, let's soften outward, teaching your shoulders to fall open in the correct position. Arms lengthen through to the hands. And again, we come up. Again, if you'd like, you can link your fingers together. Just changes the shape slightly, but whatever feels comfortable for you. Hands on the back of the head, gently looking up and down. Being very, as always, gentle with your neck. Don't press hard. Simply offering a bit of stimulus to strengthen those postural muscles that often get collapsed and stiffened. Again, palms turn out. Make sure your arms are opening along the sides of your body. Your shoulder blades sink down your back. Arms falling along the side. Gently then at the end, turning your palms in. So your hands continually fall alongside, leaving the front and the back of your shoulder open. Let's try this frozen shoulder movement. A mixture of the last few. Your hand helps to turn your head gently, and we release outward. In closing, let's do a little bit of that side-to-side movement. And then shaking out from the top down. Again, shake your hands out a little bit. Just for today, emphasizing this release all the way from the shoulder, the inside of the shoulder. You notice that as you turn, it helps to impact the center of your chest, your upper back and spine. Leading the movement with your hand, with your fingertips. If you try to lead with your elbow, your shoulder, you get trapped. So instead, your fingertips lead as though someone's just lifting your hand for you. Shoulders stay soft. Palms move away from each other. Pulling open the shoulders, the neck floats up. And all of the stuff in between stays soft. Lead with the hands. The whole shoulder, the shoulder blade rotates around. Don't just twist your arm. Let's do a few of these movements. Shoulder blade sinks, thumb moves gently behind the head, just in preparation for black snake. Turn your waist a little bit. We open, shoulders sinks, and that allows your hand to move over in the right alignment. Don't pull your arm back, just soften your shoulder. It'll find the way through eventually. Let's try one more. Great. Now a bit of black snake, twisting around the tree. Lead with your fingertips, your hand, both directions. Gently looking behind. The hand shape on the lower back changes the shape of your shoulder girdle. So you can try putting the flat of your back of your hand against your back, the eye of the fist, your palm. Notice how it changes the shape of what's going on. Find what's comfortable for you. You might even try it slightly differently each repetition. Lead with the hand. Closing when you're finished. Thumbs turning in. Lead with your hands. If you lead with your elbows, or your shoulders, or your chest, you get stuck. If you lead with your hands, it takes you around, softening and lengthening from your shoulders. And then, same thing here. As you open, you might think instead of leading with the forearms a bit, the hands are still technically correct, but you don't want to sort of do this by letting your fingers drop first. Instead, it's more like from the elbow to the hand that all sinks more or less together, just as a way to help you open your shoulders and your chest a bit better. But the movement technically is still following your hands. Lengthening outward to your fingertips, decompressing your neck and shoulders. You want everything to continually lengthen away, pulling all of this open. Lengthening by letting go, not by pulling. The language gets confusing. Same thing here. The hands fall away from each other, but because you let go, not because you push your hands. That just creates more tension elsewhere. Palms turn out. Pressing away from each other. Palms turn forward as the shoulder blades sink. Lead with your hand. As though someone pulls down your hand. Hand is the last to move here. Lead with your hand. If you sink your elbow first, you'll get stuck. Trying to disinhibit the neck and shoulders here. That's still the main goal of our practice. We're just exploring how the hand moves correctly in relationship with that disinhibition. A bit of white snake sticking out its tongue. Lead with your hands. Your hands with your hands. Palms are soft and warm, and that warmth soaks in through the navel into the middle dantian space for this set, all the way to your lower back. Allow your hands to turn over and around as your chest opens and closes, both directions. Lead with the fingertips underneath. If you lead with your elbow, you get stuck. I'll just keep saying it. Repetition is always useful. Fingertips. Hand turns around. Just soften your hand. Let it fall and fall and fall as it pulls open all the way up to your neck and the top of your head, all the way down to your dantian. Apologize for smacking my microphone here. Both sides. Here's an important moment where it leads through, and also here as you fall long around this transition as you open, continually lengthening through to your fingertips as you let go. Letting go, letting go. Palms up. Palms fall in as your shoulders sink and your chest settles. Chest opens, front of the shoulders open, palms turn up. Don't lead with your elbows. Don't get stuck on your shoulders. Let your hands flow around the circle, pulling you open, at least to your neck, the center of your shoulders. Eventually all the way down to the waist and to the feet. Let's try a little bit of golden snake now. Letting your hands lengthen away from each other, disinhibiting this space. See if you can do the same through your feet. Takes more practice. We worked on that last class, but this time emphasizing more this length. And then continue that length as your hands sink down. Don't shorten. Lengthen, just lengthen around the circle. And then continue to lengthen. Your hands lead, leading with your hand like someone has control of your hand and is just pulling it around for you. Lead with the fingertips. Same thing here. It's easy to let it come up into the shoulder, but instead your hand flows around. Here as well, it's easy to start pulling with your neck and shoulders. Instead, your hand moves and it pulls you around. And continues around the circle. All the way around the shoulder, softens. And there we are. We change. As you soften through, notice if you start to push with your shoulder. You want to start this first movement by leading with the fingertips. And it flows out without crimping your shoulder. Just turn your waist. And then it flows around the circle. Again, don't turn first. Let your hand go. Waiting for it. Wait for the hand to come. Then you turn. Wait for the hand, then you turn. The hand is leading that around. Eventually that dynamic changes a bit, but you want to start with by leading the hand, allowing the hand to lead so that it pulls you open from the ends. Lead with the hand. Don't pull your elbow around. Lead with the hand. Nice. Thumbs turn in and fall. Even here, you're settling through your body, but it's your hands leading. If you lead with your elbows, you end up closed and you can't get all the way down. So this whole series so far, about a month in now, congratulations, this whole series has been about finding and exploring these various lines in the body, whether it's the sinew channels or leading with the feet, leading with the hands, these qualities that need to be present for the body to open, and these areas that we don't want to shut down or kink or tense up as we practice. We have to become aware of all of them one at a time, so that later we have a kind of a global awareness of our movement, a whole body awareness. And these factors like leading with the hands just become second nature. And so as we progress, if you find that one sinew channel in particular is really stuck, then pause and work on that one for a while before continuing on. Or if you find that it's just really difficult for you to lead with your hands, maybe you're just always pulling with your elbows and getting stuck, then maybe spend extra time just with this one lesson until the lesson itself sinks in and becomes more second nature. Sometimes it goes fast, sometimes it takes quite a while. But don't rush your practice, otherwise you end up missing out on these important lessons that we are going through. So I'm just offering it in a single lesson, but for you at home, in the future, you can take it and do it as often as you need until these aspects of your body-mind open up and begin to express themselves in a more balanced way. That is a much better way to practice. Hands lead. Opening, falling outward, pulling all this open as you lengthwise release around the circle. Around the circle. Opening the sky, closing the earth. Both directions. Make sure that as you close, you don't pull in. Instead, you sink down, lengthening and lengthening and lengthening all the way down through. So here your lower back stays open, and you close down, chest softens, belly softens. Closing. Thumbs turn in, chest sinks. Waiting until you have that sense of a charge building up. And then let's also do this other simpler version, and sliding around to the lower back, opening along the front without collapsing your lower back, palms warming your lower back, protecting it. And then again, lead with your hands, lead with your fingers, sliding down the outside and backs of the legs, as far down as feels comfortable. Make sure that it's your hips traveling back, not your body going forward. And then we circle around to the inside. And again, lead with your hands on the way up. If you try to pull with your back or your neck, you end up being stuck in some position. But if instead your hands just flow up and you follow the movement of your hands, it's easier for you to maintain good posture. Lead with your hands. Hands warm the back. Lead with your hands. Hands warm the back. You take your time, letting go, shaking out the movement a little bit, especially through your wrists and your hands. So let's try this comfortably modified version of the turtle drinking chi. Softening down, hips travel back, lengthening your spine as far as feels comfortable. Then soften your tailbone, allow the head to droop, lengthening open along your back. You can place your hands on your knees if that helps offer support. And then lead with the head and the nose, flowing up, opening along the front of your body, and then a gentle ripple down, softening back to basic posture. Pause for a moment, wait for things to settle. And then again, hips travel back, opening your spine, and then you sink, lengthening along the back part of the spine, posterior aspect, and then length along the front, the anterior aspect. Once more. Hips soften back, releasing. Closing when you're finished. Feels good. So let's do a bit of lengthening up and down between the sky and the ground. Let's soften outward today. Leading with the hands. Crown of the head follows up. Again, soften your fingers, your wrists. You can do this as often as you like, as much as you like to loosen up. I know for a lot of people this is a huge area of tension and congestion. So by putting your hands in the air and softening around, and then again but down below, this tends to be very helpful for people. So if you find it helpful, make as many repetitions of that as you like. Releasing all the way through. Again, notice it's my hands leading the movement. Softening again from your elbows through your wrists to your fingertips. And then a loose fist. Palms gentle. a wave of softness, of release down through your body. Closing. So again, hands lead. Hands lead. Let it pull open your shoulders, turn your waist. Turn your waist. Just to do it wrong, if I was to lead with my elbows, you can see how it kind of bunches up. If I try to lead with my shoulders, if I turn my waist and my hands flop, but instead if I turn and allow my hands to lead, it pulls all of this open, reaching toward my waist and the ground. Fingertips soft, palms relaxed. Remember that if you have arthritic pain through your hands or wrists, you can just hover your hands, stopping them just before they run into your body. That's okay. Pain is not helpful in this context. Again, taking the time to go around, around, around. That movement even lengthens my sweater and pulls it around my hands. Everything is pulled outward. And so if you need help with that, that's a wonderful exercise to make use of. So this basic posture again, allowing your hands to sink. Allow a deep awareness of your neck and your shoulders, from the skin, through the musculature and the sinew, all the way into the bones. As well as some awareness of your hands, softening deeply, lengthening, and then the whole body. Palms nice and warm. Don't start touching your body until your hands are nice and warm. You can put them on a cup of tea if you need to. And allow that warmth to soak in from your hands around your eyes. Hands are soft as you rub them together, continuing to soften further and further. Allow the palms to warm your neck, your shoulder, base of your neck. Allowing that warmth to soak in. And you're not just warming your neck here. This movement also, of course, warms and enlivens your hands. So always making certain that they are taking part without getting tense. Remember to spend extra time in any space that needs more attention. Every morning will be a bit different. Or morning for me, every day that you do it, whenever you do it, will be a bit different. So you want to pay attention to what your body's asking for. Continually getting better at maintaining balance through your daily practice. That way your practice isn't static, but it's alive. It's always changing, and you get better and better at listening. All the way down to your hands. Up the outside, down the inside, through to the palm. The softer you become, the easier it gets to do this. So we can spend a little extra time with the shaking. Shake out your feet as well if you want. You can shake in and out if that's helpful. You can shake across your hips. And let's just spend a little extra time with these. Letting go of those places that are hanging on and making the movement more difficult for you. And across the shoulders. And then the hands. Again, spending extra time here, shaking as though you have water on your hands. And there's various ways to try this. This way, palms released up, palms released down. Palms turned in. Horizontal. Make sure that you're soft, you're not hanging onto your hands. There's lots of ways to release. This way. You can do this by releasing around as the thumb as the pivot. Right, so your thumb stays in place, the rest of your hand shakes. You can make the index finger the pivot. I know this is complicated detail, but each of these is a slightly different line that you're releasing around the index finger. The middle finger turns, or the middle finger is the pivot, the rest of the hand turns around it. For those of you who have studied the channels and the sinew channels more deeply, you might actually be able to feel how these engage the body differently. The ring finger is the one that's most difficult for me. Maybe I have a blockage in that channel. Little finger. You can see it rotating around. Each is different. You just soften your hands and you open it along a different channel. And the whole body. Little things for you to play with if you like. Hands are soft. Spend an extra moment here. Make sure the crown of the head floats up. The hands are released out. Notice how different your hands feel. Allow your awareness and some of that fresh, clear chi to soak into your belly. Thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me. Keep up the good work. A little bit more every day. Tomorrow will be a little bit different. Keep exploring different angles, different ways to release and relieve the body. Getting better and better at feeling through even small details like I'm talking about. Finer and finer details become easier and easier because you're more and more related to every part of your body. It's a lot of fun. Take your time. Keep up the good work. I'll see you tomorrow.